Welcome to Black Belt Leader. I'm Karen Gately, the founder of Corporate Dojo. On the show is two great guests who will be helping us to explore the link between a leader's character and the cultural environment that is ultimately created through their leadership. So we've got Peter Maguire, who's joining us here from Ridge HR. I can't even say that, I'm sorry, Peter. Welcome. I do know who you work for. Peter is from Ridgeline HR. He is the practice leader and he's a passionate advocate of helping people with cultural change and as a facilitator and engagement coach. So welcome to the show. We're also joined by another guest who works very closely with Peter. That's Stephen Ferrugia at ShareTree. So Stephen is the CEO and founder of ShareTree, and he's a team culture engagement specialist and leadership mindset expert. Welcome both of you to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning, Karen.
It's great to have you here. Today is our final episode of Black Belt Leader, and so we're especially excited to have you on to unpack probably the topic that is closest to our hearts, and that is around leadership character, and that link, as I was saying in the intro, between a leader's character and ultimately what they create in their workplace, the level of engagement that they're able to achieve, the standard of performance they're able to achieve because of who they are as a person. So we're very grateful to you both being here to help us to understand that and explore that in more detail with our audience. So I'll jump straight in and ask perhaps you first, Peter, to give us a bit of insight to your world. Let us know what you do in your business and where do you see character actually playing out or being relevant in your work?
Well, Karen, Ridgeline HR was launched back in 2000. Really set up to help small to medium-sized businesses with all of the people management stuff and to a significant degree dealing with the compliance burden that businesses have.
Yeah.
Over the years, as I've crossed hundreds and hundreds of business and dealt with the same sorts of issues in lots of different industry settings, the impact that leadership and the character of leaders has on business performance and the employee experience became more and more evident. And over the last 5 years, I've developed a new passion in the area of positive psychology-based cultural change and leadership. Which is the new brand coming out, which is PosWork.
Yeah, great. Well done on that. Great, congratulations on that. So Stephen, what do you see out there? Again, I know this is something that you're super passionate about, and ShareTree is built around, enabling character. What do you see as being most relevant?
Most relevant is really about people awareness about character, the power of character. So at ShareTree, we're super passionate about empowering people who value people. And we've looked deeply into more than 100 different organisations to understand really what creates good culture. And there's really two key things that stand out more than all things. And that's the mindset and the awareness of the leaders and the culture of their team. And they feed into each other, and character is at the core of that.
So let's start by talking a bit about the pain, right? We all know in the work that we do that there are challenges in organisations, things that are going wrong, things that are suboptimal, if you like, in terms of the outcome. Where do you see some of those links? What are some of the most common things you see in terms of the need for character development and strength and the problems actually in the business's performance? So I'll start with you, Peter.
Yeah, look, I think one of the things that's evident to me is that sort of from when the term human resource management came about back in the 80s, we've gone increasingly down this pathway of risk management, governance, etc., which has probably been a blocker to people expressing their true characters in leadership roles, because their first concern, their first KPI has been around protecting the reputation of the organisation and protecting it from risk. So that's meant that there have been lots of robust policies, etc., processes that have been put in place to run the business, but probably has taken it away from being people-centric and taken it away from having a personality consistent with the character strengths of the leadership of the organisation.
Absolutely. And look, I think that's something that, you've nailed a key point there, that we could literally have a whole show around that, just around that link between, for example, our HR policies and what we're actually saying to our team in terms of trust, in terms of respect. The tone, the language we use in some of those approaches can be, very dictating, very risk adverse, very concerned about what all these dodgy people are going to go and do. That's the message that we're actually sending.
And changing the language is so important. So if we're going to have positive values, the language needs to be consistent with that. So there's a big difference between having a bullying and harassment policy and having a respectful workplace policy.
Absolutely agree. It's how you frame it, isn't it? Absolutely. So Stephen, I'll ask the same to you. What do you see in terms of the pain, where there's opportunities for business outcomes to be better if character was stronger?
I think you guys touched on a few really important points, and one of the key character traits that came up there is trust. Like to get a thriving team means that people's well-being is optimal. And well-being goes hand in hand with performance. And to get trust in a team, we use the term C team, meaning a good communicated, connecting team. And the acronym actually means something. So C, about communication. So to inspire your people, and to give them vision about where to go. So to communicate from purpose. That uplifts people and gives them reason and meaning for why they're there. And the team is about truth. The T is truth. To speak from authenticity, congruence, like all these things are important. Every one of those communications and conversations seeds trust. Then the E is about empathy, to be with your person through their own evolution journey. And we can get into what are the stages of evolution. Then A is ability. And most businesses just hone right in on ability. But we've asked thousands of people now about how you recruit. Competency versus character. And almost hands down, people say characters first. But very rarely do they have a system that recruits to align with their culture and their character. And the last is meaning, M. If you don't have purpose, you don't have drive and you don't have resilience. And if you want to get a team to be resilient, well, you give them meaning and purpose. And they will, with a why, you can endure anyhow.
Exactly. Very well said. Totally agree. And we can certainly hear what your passion is, right? It absolutely makes sense and very aligned with a lot of the stuff we do at the Corporate Dojo in terms of, leveraging the strength of our team spirit and that spirit being enabled through a strong character, because that means we can actually apply the talent. Again, how often do we meet people who are capable of doing things if they actually chose to do it and chose to do it in a way that was actually effective in terms of their relationships and their application. So, there's absolutely no doubt there's a big role to play by leaders in creating those conditions where people do have the talent, but they have also the mindset, the strength of character to choose successful behaviour.
Stephen made a point there about the word authenticity.
Absolutely.
Is so important to that. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we need to face, if we're going to be authentic, is that we first need to understand ourselves and our strengths. For me, getting involved with character strengths, which I did a few years ago, and there's different models I've used, has been totally transformative. Because it's helped me to understand why there's stuff I really enjoy doing, because it is me. It's the DNA. It's
aligned with who you are.
It's who I am, and I get to express those character strengths, and that's the stuff I really flourish in. And then there are other things that I do which I struggle with, and it's for good reason, because I need to deploy strengths which are not as natural to me. And so I've got to work harder at it, and I can do it. And I'm not saying you don't abandon those areas I'm not saying that you should abandon those areas you're not strong at, but understanding that they take a bit more work and you might need strategies to deploy them properly, or you might need someone who's got those strengths to help you, can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. And look, and you've just led us perfectly into the next area that I really wanted to explore is, what we've talked about so far is character does matter. To enable a human being to be at their best, they need character strength. We as leaders to influence that in other people need character strengths. So obviously self-awareness, like what is my authentic self, and where am I bringing strengths, where are the things that I need to develop or grow. If that's where I'm at, where do I start? So as a leader, again, we can say have self-awareness and understand those development areas, but it can be tougher to actually do. So where would you start with understanding those?
Well, I suppose one of the things I'd like, Stephen, you told a story in the training that I went to for Share Tree about there was a particular character strength that you were not getting take up on in your Share Tree, and you went and found somebody who was getting a lot of recognition. But can you tell us that story?
Yeah, definitely. So on the Share Tree application, it gives you the ability to look into your team and see every person's unique character strengths.
Yeah.
So what we were able to do, I looked at my tree and it was flourishing in areas unique to my strengths. And it's a case of nature and nurture. And I like to help people cultivate what's naturally their strengths, but at the same time, not to neglect those areas of growth. So I looked at my tree, I was looking at growth areas like, respect is not an area that naturally flourishes on my tree. It's more wisdom, purpose, determination. So I had a look at my team and I was like, Kevin in my team, our development lead, he's flourishing in this area. So then I started exploring that branch of his tree and saw all his conversations and understood how his character was uniquely different to my own.
Okay.
Then I started to mimic those things that Kevin does, had a coffee with Kevin or watched Kevin, observe Kevin in his meetings and adjusted my approach, and naturally my tree started to flourish in that area.
I love that so much. For a start, my husband's Kevin, so
Well, respect to Kevin.
Yeah, good on Kevins of the world. Then I started to be amused, thinking that Kevin might be going, why is he following me around? Why is he? But no, jokes aside, I think that's a fantastic strategy to really understand. I want to be better in a particular area. Who has that gift? And what are they actually doing? So we've got to ask, what did you discover? What was Kevin doing that you weren't doing?
Some of the key things was the way he would have his conversations. So a lot of time and space, a lot of good questions to ask for others about their journey of evolution. We're all on a journey of evolution, Karen. And the connection is taking the time to empathise with people, to understand where they are uniquely on their journey, and connecting with your strengths to uplift them and for them to do the same back. It's a two-way road. And that's one of the key learnings I had.
Was he slowing you down a bit?
No, not at all.
No. What I meant by that was in terms of the pace and the amount of time and the amount of time.
He was slowing me down in a good way. So,
that's what I was imagining, this really passionate, driven character, and then from Kev here, he's got a bit of calm, a bit
Poise.
of ask a few more questions, stay connected longer. Because I think it's again such a beautiful example of a character trait that makes a difference. An energized, fast-paced leader obviously can bring real energy around them. They're more likely to be articulating what the picture looks like for the future and to get people excited behind it. But that's not always the leader we feel most heard by, So often they're moving at such a pace, we don't really feel that we can access them either. So again, both the strength there, but something to be mindful of, because clearly we need to be accessible as well as inspiring.
A good leader will seed leadership in every person in their team.
Yes.
That is a good leader. That makes a leader of everybody. So then the whole team is held.
So I'm going to jump right there and say, how do you actually do that as a leader? You want to, as you said, seed leadership in all of the roles and team members. How do you do that?
There's some key character attributes that we've discovered through research that actually create good leadership. And good leadership, as I said before, seeds leadership in others. So the key traits, there's 12 character groups and 7 levels of evolution. The key aspects to leadership are purpose, so that they speak with meaning and they seed meaning in others and understand the meaning of people and connect them all. The next part is about innovation, wisdom, creativity, vision, strategy, all the intellectual things that are important as a leader, to be able to help people navigate the maze of life, the maze of business. And the last part is really gratitude. Gratitude, thankfulness, compassion, anything in that space. You said there's a similar energy to all that energy, but it's those three energies: purposefulness, innovation, wisdom, and gratitude, compassion. Those three energies together create good leaders who seed leaders of everybody.
Yeah, brilliant. So if I'm a leader who has grown up being very results oriented, I'm just driven to get the job done, people are actually quite irritating. And, when I say irritating, they're a drain, they're hard work. How do I develop, for example, compassion or empathy or that patience to actually connect? I'll start with you, Peter.
One of the things I've looked at in recent years has been the whole practice of performance management in organisations, which is all risk driven, and it's all about corrective action. So it is actually not enabling in itself. And what would we do if we could change that? And I've looked around, and in the education sector, I've discovered positive education programs, big picture education, where there's a focus on developing kids through the lens of their own passions, their own strengths, and having individualised programs which have been hugely successful. And I've seen this make a world of difference to one of my children, so I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I thought, what would we do if we did that in a workplace? What would happen? So I went and experimented with it, and it works. And that is to shift the performance management process to a person enablement process.
Absolutely.
And it's a continuous coaching process. And in the way we do it, we look at it through essentially 5 lenses. The first is the one that is normally the only lens in performance management, which is the role that I play and what the technical outputs are supposed to be. The second is about relationships and who relies on me for stuff, who do I rely on, how are those relationships working, how do we optimise those. The third's around organisational values and behaviours, am I walking the talk? The fourth is about character strengths and how I bring the best me every day. And the fifth is about my well-being and how I optimise that so that I can be the best I can be. And you go through that process and you look at it from the perspective of what are you achieving and how do we celebrate that, plus where do you need to get better and how do we support you with that, as distinct from being critical of underachievement.
Absolutely.
It totally changes the conversation, the language, and the outcome.
Because you're changing what you're measuring in terms of those drivers of success, those measures of success. And what you've described there is entirely aligned with, again, our approach through the Corporate Dojo. In my view, performance management is broken. It doesn't actually work. Most leaders don't enjoy it. Individuals certainly don't benefit a great deal in many, many circumstances. So again, we do the same thing. We start with a scorecard, yes, of what are the outcomes, because we need to know what the results are in many cases. But we would argue that for most jobs, there's actually 1, 2, or 3 maybe key metrics or measures that are most relevant, that we should actually be measuring, as opposed to everything in the position description and everything we do every day. But the most focus should be focused on the human element. What are the capabilities I need to develop? What are the steps I'm going to take to have great relationships, to build my character strengths, to behave in ways that allow me to be successful, so we can actually unlock that potential. So I agree. I think, leveraging things like our performance management systems to drive character development is key. Another tool in the toolkit that I'll draw our minds to is the Share Tree deck of cards. A bit excited about this. Thank you for my present today. I'm on the Share Tree. What do you call that tree?
The app.
The app, and love that. And so definitely recommend that for people who want to, certainly leverage a portal that will give you the opportunity to be grateful and to share, appreciation and acknowledge character strengths across your organisation. It's really fantastic. So I was a bit excited to get my own set of printed cards, because I am a bit of a cards girl. And I do like these kind of resources, because again, when we're working with teams, for example, we might want to pull out a resource like this and start to actually explore different aspects of character. So I thought, something fun we could do. Oh, this is a beautiful one. I'm so excited right now, viewers. Wait for this. The card I've drawn here is love. And, you know, this just use this as an example. So we've drawn this card here on love, and we need to be more loving as a leader. How is that relevant in a world where we're trying to actually achieve really hard results sometimes and important results? Who wants to go first on that one?
One of the great things about ShareTree, because it's something I've fallen in love with over the last year as well.
He got the word love in there at least in his response.
And is that it promotes the practice of gratitude every day.
Yeah.
And loving yourself is a good place to start.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
You know, so from that perspective, you know, that's where I see it starts first and foremost.
Yeah. And a perfect response, because again, in our humble opinion, that again is key to unleashing human potential. We can have knowledge, we can have skills, we can have experience, but unless we as a starting point have self-respect, self-regard, and therefore some courage to step forward and share our gifts, then our potential is constrained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, one of the truths you get from using this, I mean, in my case, I think the signature strengths are courage, wisdom, and respect. But that's based on the feedback people have given me. You know, and in a sense, gratitude, they're expressing love, that they liked this about me. But it's providing me with constructive feedback about what it is that people value and you know, how do I do more of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Look, I think it's perfect because, again, when you think about just basic human psychology, you know, everything we're dealing with as leaders in terms of motivating, inspiring, removing roadblocks is typically around love and fear. You know, am I loved? Am I enough? Am I valued? You know, do I belong? Those kind of emotions are at the heart of everything we're doing.
It's right at the core of our being.
Yeah.
Love.
So yeah, do tell, creator of this system, you know, what do you see as being core? Again, I've just pulled that as a random example, but I get that as a leader. What do I do with that now?
Yeah, so I do want to add, actually, we are the creators of the technical system, but the Virtues Project are the base foundation of the cards.
Fantastic.
So they're secular, they're non-religious.
Yeah.
And love is an interesting one that you draw out. It is, you know, ironically right at the core of our being.
Yeah.
We are seeded to love and be loved.
Yeah.
And when you talk about love in a corporate sense, it gets the most interesting response from people.
Yeah.
Either passion or resistance.
Yeah.
And a lot of people misconstrued love as being in love.
And romantic love.
The romantic love to a partner, which is one form of it.
Yeah.
But I can be passionate, as you can see, I'm passionate about seeding gratitude and character globally. That is a love of mine.
Yeah.
But it's a different form of love, joyfulness.
Yeah.
Gratitude. They're all forms of love that we can express in different ways. So to love something or someone is one way of looking at love. And then how do you seed a love and a passion in everyone in your team?
Yeah.
Then love becomes powerful as a corporate strategy.
Yeah. Absolutely. And look, I was very fortunate to experience this when I was an in-house HR director working for the Vanguard Group. You know, I really did love that business. I loved that organisation's values, its senior leadership, you know, right from the founder of the business and everything that they had created, our local team. You know, there was an enormous amount of emotional investment from me and a lot of other people, I might add, in that organisation. So it meant that discretionary effort was easy to tap into because we loved what we did, we loved the mission that we're on. Now, obviously, I'm painting this very idealistic view. It wasn't like that in every moment and every day, but there was this foundation of really bringing that heart into our work. And again, if I go back to being a martial artist, that's when I see us have the most incredible results, is when our heart's really in it, you know, and we're really driven. So, you know, again, obviously we've got tools like yours. I could pull another card and we could spend literally probably a show on each one, no doubt. But again, if we go back to some of those fundamental character development priorities out there, you know, what advice have you got for businesses that want to start on this journey of getting focused on character growth as an ongoing part of what they do? I'll start with you this time, Steve.
Yeah, so I think what's really important, like any journey, if you want to go on a trip to a certain destination, what's the first thing you do? You'll punch into your GPS where you are. And if you want to go on a journey to evolve and grow character in your organisation, it's no different. The first thing you need to know is, where are you right now? What are the current strengths of your team? And there's 7 aspects to a person's evolution that correlate directly back to a culture need. And that's a need to feel safe and secure, a need to feel supported and connected, a need to feel a sense of accomplishment, willpower and self-achievement, a need to feel a sense of love and being loved, and a sense of being valued, a sense of truth, transparency and expression, a sense of growth, intellect, development and learning, and most importantly, purpose and meaning. So it's looking at where does your team fit in regard to those 7 cultural needs, and what are the collective strengths of your team in alignment to where you aspire to be as your culture's purpose.
Fantastic. Any final comments from you, Peter, before we wrap up?
Oh, look, ShareTree is a terrific platform which we use in the work that we do. One of the things that I did do over recent years when I was wrestling with all this was went and had a look around the world at what was out there, and there's a huge amount of free stuff that's accessible out there that people can tap into for inspiration, for ideas, or to use in real terms. Some of the better ones that I've come across are Engage for Success, which is a framework from the UK on employee engagement, which is very simple, 4 pillars of engagement, really easy to use, and correlates well with the stuff Stephen does with ShareTree as well. So go out there, find that stuff, find out what the strengths of your leadership team are, and understand them and leverage them. And yes, do a stock take, see where you're at, and then set some goals.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having both of you on. I really do appreciate you joining us for what is our final show of Black Belt Leader. And as I said at the start, you know, we're super passionate about helping leaders to build character strength, to do the same within their teams, ultimately drive business performance, but also improve the quality of people's lives. So thank you again. That's all we've got for the show today. Thank you for watching both today's show, but also each of our Black Belt Leader series. If you would like to catch up on some of the episodes we've put out there in the past, you can do that by visiting us at corporatedojo.com. Remember, get in touch if you would like to learn anything more about growing as a leader or developing the people leadership strengths within your business. And remember, you choose. Will you be an ordinary or an awesome leader of your people?
Stream us live on the Ticker app, Apple TV, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and tickertv.com.au. Ticker, streaming news now.